Looking at our world from a theological perspective. This is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, October the 1st, 2021. It is currently 8:58 a.m. Central Time, and I'm coming to you live from the Empty Sanctuary right here, Ovalo, Texas, the Empty Sanctuary of Victory Baptist Church. You know all of that. You know where I broadcast from. You know where the studios of the Theology Central Podcast is located, right here in the middle of nowhere, Texas, also known as Ovalo, Texas. You know all of that. So you don't care about any of that, but I always at least like to start giving you the date, the time, just for historical context, so that when anyone listens in the past or in the future, when someone listens in the future, they're like, oh, okay, that's what was going on at that time. So you know all of that. We don't care about any of that. We have a lot to do. First and foremost, I want to apologize to everyone. I really wanted to be here yesterday. This study of 1 John, to me, is so important, and we're trying to accomplish so many things that I did not want to miss one day. But I loaded up all of the podcast equipment, got in my car, started driving here in the middle of a West Texas thunderstorm, and realized I made a bad decision. And so pulled over, was able to turn around, and went back to my house and said, okay, forget that. Now, about the time I got back home, about 15 minutes later, it stopped, but then it started again about 35, 45 minutes later. And then later in the evening, I thought about coming back, but every time I thought about coming back, I'm like, well, if I get all the way out there, if the internet's down. So needless to say, you did not get a Bible study exercise yesterday, but I'm going to do everything in my power today, tomorrow, and Sunday to make up for that, so that this first week of study in 1 John proves to be extremely beneficial and extremely helpful. I had a couple of listeners, and I'm very appreciative that they took the time to do this. Many times I will tell you that the Bible study exercise broadcast are far less successful than when I turn on the microphone and talk about controversial issues, current events, what's going on in the news. If I sit there and say, look at the Google search trends and go, oh, that's a hot topic. Okay, is there a theological perspective to that? Let's talk about that. If I chase, what is current, what is happening, I can build those numbers and get big numbers. And sometimes that's very frustrating. Sometimes that's very discouraging and depressing. But I had a couple of listeners who tried to offer some insight maybe to those numbers that I completely missed. One person pointed out that, hey, when I'm doing the Bible study exercise, I have to listen to them very differently than everything else. The Bible study exercises require me to kind of stop what I'm doing, open a Bible, have a notebook. So there may be times I can't listen to them, and that requires more attention, where the other things I can just listen while I'm, cleaning the house or doing whatever. I can't remember the exact words of the email. I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea. And I thought, well, I never thought about that. The Bible study exercises do require a different way of listening. And a lot of people listen to podcasts maybe while they're driving to work or doing something. So that could definitely impact the numbers. So, okay, that makes sense. And so I never thought about that. And another person pointed this out. And this is the one that has really kept me up at night going, wait a minute, what am I doing? They said, well, you do realize that most of the people listening probably go to church, so they have their own Bible studies that they're involved in. Sunday school, small groups, they have their own Bible studies. So there's a good chance that they don't need another Bible study, but they may need to hear commentary about what's going on in the world from a theological perspective. They may not be given that at church. There may not be any discussions about that at church. And I thought, well, that is true. So then what am I doing? Here's my thinking here. I do understand that you can get Bible study all over the place. I do understand that. But I have really tried my best to provide something very unique with the Bible study exercise. I think what we're doing, I think it's very unique. I think the way we try to take the text apart, that we try to walk through it together. I ask difficult questions. I bring in hermeneutical lessons. I think that I think it's distinct enough that it would still be valuable to someone who does have, obviously, loads and loads and loads of Bible study options available to them. I still think that what we're doing is unique enough. So I do appreciate people offering that perspective. It's always interesting. When you're sitting here talking into a microphone in an empty sanctuary, you perceive things one way. In other words, you perceive things from the podcaster side of things, and then you have the perception of people from the listener side. The podcaster side, all I do is I get a screen that shows me a bar graph and shows me numbers and shows me, okay, who's listening to what, which episodes are getting the most downloads, where are they listening from, what country, what state, what device, is it an Apple device, an Android device, are they male or female, what age are they, it breaks it down, but it's just numbers. And then I have to go, okay, what do I do with these numbers? What do I do with these numbers? Do I just ignore them? Or do I notice trends? Do I notice things? So sometimes I may notice things, but my perception of those things, well, may miss certain aspects of it. So I do appreciate people doing that. But I still think that what we're doing is unique enough and different enough that I'm going to continue to pursue the Bible study exercises, even at risk of being maybe somewhat, well, it's just another Bible study, and there's plenty of those. Even though there's a risk that people may see it that way, I think anyone who participates will catch on really quick that we are doing things very different. And I truly believe that. Now, you may be able to email me and say, nope, you're wrong. There's 50 podcasts. There's 50 churches that do it exactly the way you do. And maybe you're right. I would love to hear them. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue to do what we're doing. So are you ready? All right, here's what we're going to do. This is going to be a very, 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 very brief, quick episode, because this is something I wanted to do earlier in the week, but I did not get to it. But I wanted to at least get this out of the way now, and then give you the opportunity even if you can't complete this by Sunday, hopefully by maybe Monday or Tuesday of next week, you will have completed this. I know we have a timetable we're trying to follow, but the most important thing is that we really get something out of our study of 1 John. So if we may find ourselves doing 1 John and doing another Bible study exercise at the same time. We will see. We will see. All right, but are you ready? Here's what we're going to do. And again, I greatly apologize for not getting this done yesterday or the day before, but I hope everything that we've done so far has been beneficial. Here's what my challenge is for you today. I want you to find something that is in the curriculum. In some ways, I'm kind of glad that I waited till today. Because I was really thinking when I was reading the curriculum, someone's going to see this and someone's going to email this to me, but no one has. So either no one saw it or they saw it and they didn't see the big deal. They didn't see it being an issue. And if that's the case, that may be not only problematic, it may demonstrate a lot of issues with what's going on in the evangelical Christian world. All right, so let me explain it this way. Before I tell you what to look for and where to look, I'm not gonna just point it out to you, but I'm gonna try to walk you all the way I'm gonna try to walk you right there to it as close as I can, and then just see who finds it first. If for some reason you're listening live and you find this immediately, do not put it in the chat. You can just say, I found it, but don't tell me what it is, because I don't want anyone else to see it. You can email me at newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com, to tell me you found it. And then you can tell me, well, I didn't think it was a big deal, or I did think this was a big deal. I'm glad you pointed this out. I would like to get your feelings there, but here we go. In the evangelical world, obviously in the evangelical world, and I'm going to go ahead and throw in a lot of identifiers here. Within the Protestant evangelical Christian world, it is obviously very common for us to really promote the idea that we believe that people are saved by grace alone, through faith alone, because of Christ alone, for God's glory alone, right? We are saved by grace alone, not by works. We're saved by grace, not by works. That is our battle cry. That is the thing that we say over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. However, I feel that while on one hand we promote, we're saved by grace alone, by grace alone, by grace alone, by grace, faith, Christ, we're saved not by works. As much as we say that, as much as we promote that, I think we turn around and whether, I don't know why we do this, but we almost then say things and preach things and do things that seem to that goes completely opposite to that. And in many cases, I feel it almost contradicts that, and we don't even see it and we don't even recognize it. So on one hand, we're like, you're saved by grace alone, through faith alone, and then we turn around and say some other things. I'm not going to tell you what we say. Some other things. And for some reason, people will sit there in the pew and say amen to both, and no one goes, wait a minute. I thought you said we're saved by grace alone, through faith alone, not by works. But that seems to indicate, no. And they may just try to say, no, it may seem to say that, but that's not what we're saying. And for some reason, people will say, well, okay, that's good enough for me. And without actually stopping going, wait, no, I think that's a contradiction. I think we're undermining the very theology that we teach. Think about it this way. We all know that if you tell people you're saved by grace alone, through faith alone, because of Christ alone, not by works, that someone could take that concept and maybe abuse it or misuse it. But you cannot correct someone's abuse or misuse of a doctrine by creating a situation that undermines the very doctrine you're trying to protect or the doctrine you're trying to proclaim. In other words, you cannot correct an abuse of a doctrine by undermining the doctrine that's being abused. Here's the doctrine. You're saved by grace alone, through faith alone. Someone is misusing it or abusing it. So you come along like, we've got to correct this misuse and abuse. And so we create a correction to the abuse that actually undermines the very doctrine that is being abused. If you end up undermining or destroying the doctrine that's being abused, then you're not correcting the abuse. You're destroying the very doctrine. I hope that makes sense. I don't want to give too much away here. But I think this is a very, very important concept, all right? So here's the thing. If you have not signed up for the curriculum, this would be a very good time to do so. Go to theologycentral.net, theologycentral.net. Just scroll down a couple of articles. You'll see one that says Daily Discipleship Guide. Follow the link. It'll take you to Ministry Grid. Register. You will have access to the curriculum. If you already have access to the curriculum or once you get access to the curriculum, here's what I want you to do. Right? I'm going to open this up right now. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to go back to my curriculum grid here. I'm going to go back one more. All right. Once you get into the curriculum, look for, I'm going to go all the way back to Unit 1, Session 1. Unit 1, Session 1 for this is the Adult Bible Study Guide. The Adult Bible Study Guide. It is called Shore of Forgiveness. Shore of Forgiveness. It is dated September the 5th. It is available through October the 3rd. Now, a lot of people have been worried about the fact that it says available through. I think even after we get past the date, you can go back and still find it available even after the original date. But just in case, maybe on your side, maybe as the administrator, it's available longer to me. If for some reason it disappears from your dashboard, then you want to check this as soon as possible. So log into the curriculum. Again, Shore of Forgiveness, Unit 1, Session 1. This is the Adult Study Guide. It's called Shore of Forgiveness. I want you to click on that. It will open it. All right. And again, the Adult Personal Study Guide, that's the one I want you to go under. You can find it in the Daily Discipleship Guide as well, but the Adult Personal Study Guide, it's loading. Takes a second to load. Now, here it is. Now, when it opens, the first thing you're going to see is basically the cover. It says Bible Studies for Life, KJV Adults Personal Study Guide, Fall 2021. Has the woman walking across this very long, narrow bridge. Then it says Study 1, No Doubt, 6 things we can know for sure. Study 2, Walking in Confidence. Then the next page says, Where's Your Trust? You can skip that. Then you get kind of the table of contents about which of all the studies. I'm not going to go through all of that. Then it says, don't miss a thing. Tells you can follow them on social media, about the podcast, all of that. Then it has the welcome. You can skip that. Then you can skip that. And then starting, let's see here. Then you have some blank pages. Then you have the discipleship plan. You can skip that. Then you have, again, kind of an overview or an outline of all the studies and the text we're going to be studying. You can skip that. Then you'll have a photograph of a pencil. It says introduction. You can skip that. Then starting right there, I think it's page 13. It says, no doubt, 6 things we can know for sure. It has the intro. You can look carefully at that. Then you have an information about the person who wrote the Bible study. Then it says session 1, sure of forgiveness. What are some sure things you can count on in life? And then you can really start paying attention there, and coming up somewhere around that time and a little after, you should see a statement that you should go, wait a minute, is that an accurate way of describing it? Are we truly saved by grace alone through faith alone, or are we saved by grace alone through faith alone? However, there are some things we must do. I want you to look carefully and see if you can find. I'm looking at the statement right now. Trust me, I want to tell you the statement right now, and I want to start teaching on it. Okay, but I'm not. I want to see if you can find it. I don't know how you can miss it. I was really hoping that everyone would read that and go, wait a minute here. I'm not so sure about that, and start getting emails going, did you see this? What do you think about this? Do you agree with this? Do you disagree with this? I've got some problems, because if we will say that we're saved by grace alone through faith alone because of Christ alone, this seems to include that I can be saved if I do 2 things. There are 2 things listed here that we need to do in order to be saved, in order to be forgiven. How many things do you have to do to be forgiven? How many things do you have to do in order to be saved? I think it raises an interesting question, and you can see if you can find it. Okay, it's right there. Now I'm just gonna check this. I'm gonna go down to the daily discipleship guide. Daily discipleship guide. I'm gonna open up the daily. So that's in the adult study guide. You can easily find it. I pretty much just walked you right to it. I'm opening up the daily discipleship guide. All right. When you open it up, you have the cover. Okay. Where's your trust? You have the outline. Don't miss this. Using the daily discipleship guide, the introductions, and then you have sure of forgiveness. You have the introduction. Okay, well, what they do here, in the daily discipleship guide, is they have the same statement, but they have a blank here because you're to fill it in. You're to fill it in. I think if you, let me see here. I'm going to look down here. So they have the same statement, but they leave a blank for you to fill it in. And then underneath that, you have a paragraph, you have a scripture, then you have another paragraph. And within that paragraph, you can find what you need to fill in that blank. And when you do, in fact, underneath the scripture, they have another phrase with 2 blanks, but that's not the one we're looking for. But if you look in that paragraph, you can fill in the blank, and it's right there that we are this if we do this and if we do this. We are this if we do this and if we do this. Does that undermine in any way, shape, or form that we are saved by grace alone through faith alone because of Christ alone? I don't know what the only thing I could do better is to drive to your house and just open up the curriculum and point it to you. I think I've done as much as I can for you to find this. But I want you to tell me, here's the statement, and no, it doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form. And here's the reason it doesn't bother me, or, oh, wow, I didn't see it, or I didn't think about it, or now that you're pointing it out, I think it does kind of undermine what we teach. I want you to see if you can find it. So it's in the daily discipleship guide. It's in the adult study guide. It's right there. Please look this up and please find it. All right. Please look it up. And if you need access to the curriculum, theologycentral.net, go to the blog section, look for the entry, Daily Discipleship Guide, follow the link. It's free for you. You register, you'll have access to all of the curriculum, 2 study guides, 2 leaders guides. Please use it. Please use it. But I'm going to do little things like this to try to get people using the curriculum because, we want to make sure we're getting our money's worth because it does cost. Well, right now it's costing a listener who has been paying for it. All right, there you have it. All right. Oh, there's more. Oh, there's so much more here I want to point out, but I will not. Okay, there you have it. All right. If you're listening live, nobody told me they found it, so either they're looking or maybe no one's currently listening live. I'll just stop right there and just leave it there. You can email me what you discover, what you find, your thoughts, your comments to newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. That's news, the letter I, F as in Frank, newsif@yahoo.com. I look forward to hearing from you and your thoughts. And let's see who finds it first. Let's see who finds it first. I've got my predictions. I've got my fantasy team picked up. I've got my fantasy team picked out. And let's see if I win, $1,000 for getting my fantasy picks first. I got who's going to come in first, who's going to come in second, who's going to come in third. I've got my top three. Let's see if I'm right or if I'm completely wrong. Now, if I'm wrong, then you know whose fault it is. It's the 3 who I picked to be first. It's not going to be my fault. It's going to be your fault for letting me down, right? It's going to be like, what are you doing? So it'll be on you. It won't be on me because, my picks should be accurate. It's on you to do what I picked. Well, it doesn't really work that way, does it? But there you go. All right. A little bit of fun in the midst of a very, 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 very serious Bible study on a very important epistle where there's much disagreement on how we handle it. And I believe in many cases, people handle 1 John in such a way that actually undermines the teaching that we are saved by grace alone, through faith alone, because of Christ alone. And that's something we really have to consider. Are we handling it correctly? Now, a lot of people will say, nope. It's not the same thing, but just because you say something is not the same thing. Just because you say something doesn't undermine a teaching doesn't mean that's necessarily true. You have to really think about it and think it through. So something very important to consider. All right, I'll stop right there. I look forward to hearing from everyone. I'm going to be right back on the air in just a second to do another Bible study exercise episode because we have to start a very important task, and we're going to get started on that in just a few minutes. So if you're listening live, be ready for the next episode to begin in probably about 5 to 7 minutes. All right, thanks for listening. Everyone have a great day. God bless.